So okay, in this proof we have some givens. So E is the midpoint of AB. We know that angle AED, this angle here, is congruent to angle BED, this angle here. The ultimate goal here is to show that angle A is congruent to angle B, so that this angle is congruent to this angle. Now let's discuss. In order to do this, we're first going to have to show that triangle AED is congruent to triangle BED. And it's going to be pretty easy to do that. We're just going to use an SAS relationship, or an SAS congruence relationship, to show that. Once we have the two triangles congruent, then we can argue that the angle A is congruent to angle B by the concept of CPCTC. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are themselves congruent. Now before I begin the proof, you may actually want to pause this video now and actually attempt it for yourself, since we've gone through the strategy. We've talked about, how we're going to go about doing that. So I'd encourage you right now to go ahead, pause the video and take a shot at it yourself. You're going to learn a lot, even from mistakes, okay? So, having said that, let's go ahead and begin. So, we know that E is the midpoint of AB. And so this should have a line segment. And so, okay, that's given. That's easy. Now, because it's the midpoint, we can now say that AE is congruently related to BE. And the reason is simply that is the definition of midpoint, of a segment midpoint, or midpoint of a segment. That's simply what it means to be a midpoint. So now we can create tick marks. We know that this segment is congruent to that segment. We can also say that DE is congruent to DE by the good old reflexive property of congruence. So we can make tick marks here. And we're given that angle AED is congruent to angle BED. That's given. So we can make arc marks here. Now it's true that these form a linear pair, so they both have to be 90, but that's not really going to help us because we already have enough now to say that the two triangles are congruent. So while I could write the measure of angle AEB and the measure of angle BED as 90, that's not going to be helpful. We only want to do what's helpful here. So now it's enough to say that triangle AED is congruent to triangle BED, and the reason would be side angle side congruence. And now, since the triangles are congruent, so are their corresponding parts. I could say DB is congruent to DA, but that's not the goal, is it? The goal is just to show that angle A is congruent to angle B, and so now that we have triangle congruence, we can say that angle A is congruent to angle B, and the reason is CPCTC. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are themselves congruent. And so that is the proof. God bless you, wherever you are today.